Do you know what the best thing about the new year is? Fireworks? Sure, they're cool to look at. New Year's resolutions. Well, they're great if you can stick to them. No, the best part about the new year is that it brings the promise of new game releases. Today, we're talking about some of the best horror games coming out in 2022 that you absolutely need to add to your to-play list. First, the Outlast Trials. The release of the initial 2 Outlast games brought Red Barrel's quite a lot of success. So much so that they decided to release the 3rd installment in the series, the Outlast Trials. The upcoming installment will obviously be bringing a lot of new features to the franchise. One of these features is a multiplayer mode. You can choose to complete the game alone, or you can add up to 3 other players and play as a team of 4. Another great thing about the upcoming release is that Red Barrels hasn't toned down the horror at all. So be prepared for jump scares and goosebumps as you play with all of your friends. As of now, we don't have an exact release date, but the publisher has confirmed that the game will be released inside 2022. Next, Rainbow Six Extraction. The addition to the Rainbow Six universe comes with a few new twists. Rainbow Six Extraction may not be the most awaited game of the year, but we're still curious to see what new features Ubisoft will add to the new installment. Here's what we know about the upcoming installment in the Rainbow Six series. It's going to feature 4-player co-op missions, and the maps will be thrice as big as the ones in the 2015 release. In addition, for all of you competitive players out there, there will also be a ranked mode. So when is this new horror title being released? Ubisoft is set to release the game on the 20th of January, 2022. Up next, the Callisto Protocol. Set in 2030, the Callisto Protocol takes place inside a prison colony known as Black Iron. You'll be playing the role of a prisoner dealing with not only prison wardens, but also with alien invasions, it seems. The trailer is definitely giving us eerie vibes, but it's hard to tell what the story holds for the players. It may not give many hints on the storyline, but it's enough to convince us to give the game a shot. We don't have an exact release date as of now, but the game is set to release in 2022. Now we have Level 0. If you've played Alien Isolation, you might find Level 0 interesting as well. It seems like a fast-paced multiplayer game set in a space station with an eerie horror vibe. In this first-person shooter point-of-view game, you're supposed to protect yourself and your team as you attempt to repair the spaceship. You're playing against a team of monsters who try to neutralize the survivors and stop them from repairing the space station. The cherry on top is that these monsters have telepathic abilities. If you're the type to enjoy fast-paced and intense horror games, then you might really like Level 0. We don't have an exact date for the release of this horror title, but we do know that the game will be released in this new year in 2022. Up next, Once Upon a Time in Roswell. If you enjoy psychological horrors, then Once Upon a Time in Roswell might be right up your alley. Reminiscent of Silent Hill PT, this first-person psychological horror looks terrifying. It follows the story of the Peterson family, who have mysteriously disappeared. You play the role of a detective who's trying to figure out what happened to the family. During your journey, you run into many questionable encounters and some rather unearthly beings. The title was initially announced at PAX West in 2019. Given how much time has passed, we're expecting its release sometime in 2022. Let's hope the game doesn't get delayed because we can't wait any longer for this release. Next on the list is VHS. VHS is a quirky, free multiplayer game that has similar vibes to Dead Realm and Dead by Daylight. The game seems like a great way to spend some time with your friends as you try to escape various gruesome monsters. VHS is set in a world where monsters escape from videotapes from inside video stores. The players have to fight with these monsters to survive. From what we've seen, the game is giving major 80s blockbuster vibes. We're sure horror lovers are going to have a thrilling time while playing this game. As of yet, we don't have an exact release date for the game. Now we have SCP Pandemic. If you've played enough horror games, you've probably heard of the SCP games. The series was announced in 2021 and has quickly gotten quite a lot of attention already. This hardcore cooperative first-person tactical shooting game is looking super promising. SCP Pandemic is about to enter its early access phase, and we're super curious to see how this one plays out. We've already lived through an actual pandemic, might as well try it out in the virtual world as well, right? Next, Next, Sons of the Forest. Perhaps one of the most anticipated sequels in The Forest, Sons of the Forest. Hopefully the sequel will start off from where the first game left off. We've all been eager for End Night Games Ltd. to give us more into the story of the sequel. However, the publisher is being quite secretive. Even the trailers don't give away much about the story. We obviously know that the sequel will try to answer some of the questions that have been left unanswered in the previous game. As of now, the game is set to release on the 20th of May 2022. Next up, Resident Evil Reverse. Can it really be a video on horror games without even a single mention of the Resident Evil franchise? Well, the franchise is coming with a new installment, Resident Evil Reverse. This multiplayer horror game allows you to play with up to 5 other players as you take up the roles of the various Resident Evil characters. As usual, the aim of the game is to collect as many points as possible. The best part is that even if you get killed, you turn into a power bioweapon and can hunt down who or whatever killed you. Much like many of the other games in this list, we don't have a fixed release date for this game either, but Capcom has stated that the game will be released in 2022. Another for the list is Dying Light 2: Stay Human. A recent debate to arise amongst some gamers is whether Dying Light 2 can be considered horror. Well, we don't know how you feel about it, but for us, the first installment was not as scary as we expected it to be. It even had chase sequences and nighttime scenarios with volatiles chasing after the players. However, it just wasn't working for us. However, word on the street is that the second title in the franchise is trying to change things around a little. Not only is the gameplay going to be more difficult, but it's also introducing new mutants. Dying Light 2 takes place 15 years after the events of the first game. Within this time span, the zombies have undergone mutations, becoming more lethal at nighttime. We've also heard that the game is adding a lot more features to make things more scary. Guess we will be the judge of whether this is true or not once the game drops on the 4th of February 2022. Now we have Back 4 Blood. Left 4 Dead fans have been waiting really long for the release of Back 4 Blood. The successor to the Left 4 Dead series is also created by Warner Brothers Games. This co-op survival horror game comes with quite a few zombies. And yes, we know that not everyone finds zombies scary, but the game has moments that definitely get you shaken for a moment or two. The game was released in October 2021, just around spooky season, which seems fitting, don't you think? We know this game has already been released, but since it was released nearing the year end, we absolutely had to include this in our list. And lastly, Scorn. Scorn was set to be released in late 2021, but the release date was pushed back to 2022. This horror game allows players to control a skinless humanoid that's lost on an alien planet. The said planet is surrounded by a biochemical environment with weird creatures roaming around, which is saying something given that not even the main character can be described as normal. The players are supposed to explore the map and figure out as much as they can about the mysterious planet. So far, Scorn definitely seems like a horror game, even if it has its unusual elements. We're curious to see what type of storyline and gameplay awaits us. We've discussed quite a few horror games, from sci-fi horror to psychological horror game releases. We've covered quite a few varieties within the genre. If things go as planned, you'll have enough horror games to last you the entire year. We don't know about you, but we're excited just by talking about all these upcoming releases. What are your thoughts on the upcoming horror games? Which ones are you most excited about? Are there any horror games that we've failed to mention in this video? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.